Hello, Consciously Parenting family, and welcome to the Conscious Coffee Break. I'm Jen Kobrick. I'm a holistic family consultant with the Consciously Parenting Project, and today we're talking about traffic. So I want to take this analogy. We talk about the stoplight, the brain's stoplight, a lot in this work, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, then go back and watch the coffee break video from a while ago about that, and I will make sure that that link is in the description for this video. So we talk about the brain stoplight a lot, which is, red, yellow, and green states of emotional regulation. And I kind of want to take that and run with it a little bit today and run with this driving analogy and talk about traffic, emotional traffic, traffic, not literal vehicles on the road traffic. So one of the things that I hear a lot from parents after they've been doing this work for a little while is that parenting is still hard. And I laugh because, of course, parenting is hard because parenting is hard. And yet at the same time, I have so much empathy for that experience because I know that so many families come to this work and start making these shifts in their parenting and in their relationships because they're hoping for things to feel better and feel easier. And a lot of people are really in crisis when they first come to this work. And so, so it feels like at the very beginning for a lot of people, it feels like things do get a bit easier, or at least they get a bit less reactive and a bit more connected, and they feel a bit better. And so then they think, understandably, that it's going to keep getting easier and easier until it's not hard anymore. And unfortunately, that's not how it goes. And so then I see this pattern where sometimes, a few months later, parents are coming to me and sort of feeling like there's something wrong with them, like they're doing something wrong if it hasn't gotten easy to parent. And so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. That's kind of what we're talking about today is how when, as we become conscious, become more connected with our children, why does it not become just easy and sunshine and roses all the time? And why does making room for feelings and connection and all of this, why does this not make it so that people are never upset? And so the first thing I want to say to that is that if that's the bar that will let you know that you've succeeded at consciously parenting is when nobody's ever upset, then let's adjust that bar, because that's not going to happen. People are going to get upset. That is a part of being human. And so the way I want to frame that is that it's sort of like the traffic. So if you're driving somewhere and normally, let's say you're driving on pretty easy streets and it's someplace you go a lot, and normally it's pretty uneventful. You see a few other cars, but you get there without really giving it too much thought and without dealing with a lot of other cars. And then all of a sudden one day, there's just a ton of traffic on the road. And you have to drive a lot slower than you normally would, and maybe that means that you're running late, and that can be really stressful, right? Especially if you're running late to something that's important. If it's your commute and you're running late to work, or an appointment or something like that, and yet that happens, and no amount of planning on your part or how you drive is going to change the fact that there's traffic that day that there isn't usually. That's just not something that we can control or entirely predict. Sometimes we can guess that it might happen. And if there's a big event in town, You might be able to guess that there's going to be some extra traffic and plan accordingly. And likewise with our children, if there's a big holiday or a trip or a visitor or something else that's out of their normal routine, we can guess that there's going to be some emotional traffic and prepare accordingly. But sometimes there's just traffic and we can't predict it, we can't control it, we can't stop it. And we can choose how to respond to it, how to react to it, how to relate to it. Just like when we're driving and we encounter traffic, we can choose to start tailgating and cutting people off and weaving in and out and speeding up and slamming on the brakes. And we can choose that. And we can choose to slow down and go with the flow of the traffic and accept being late someplace. And we can choose something in between too. We can choose another route and maybe try to get there a different way. We can choose to leave earlier if we're encountering traffic on a regular basis. We can choose to give ourselves more time so that we have space for the traffic. We could choose to take public transportation if that's an option, and avoid driving in the traffic altogether. So we have options, we have lots of options, but we don't control the traffic. And no matter how conscious and excellent of a driver we become, there's still sometimes traffic. And so that's where this analogy comes back to what I was talking about with parents feeling like after being in this work for a while that it's still hard, there's still big feelings, and they thought there wouldn't be any more. Because the big feelings, the big emotional challenges, those are kind of like the traffic. They don't go away. What we're doing in this work is changing how we drive. Because we can anticipate there being things that are beyond our control, like traffic. And we can choose how we drive to make it less stressful, less scary, more calm when we're in traffic. But we can't actually get rid of the traffic. We can't make it go away, unfortunately. So I'm sorry if that is a disappointment that I can't make it go away. There are sometimes ways that we can encounter less traffic, and that can sometimes be a part of this work. I talked about with, if you're encountering traffic every day on your commute, you could choose to go a different route, or take public transportation, or carpool, or leave a little bit earlier so you have more time. Those are all choices that could mean not that there is less traffic, but that you don't deal with as much of the traffic, that you encounter less traffic, or you have more capacity to deal with it so it doesn't feel as stressful. Certainly we are doing that in this work. There are times that we change something about our approach with our children in order for there to be less emotional traffic, or we get the support that we need to have more capacity to be responsive and to hold space for it. So we certainly can change those pieces as well. But we can't control the traffic because that's not ours. And likewise, we can't control our children's emotions. We can't control how they show up in any given situation. We can only control how we show up and how we interact with how they are showing up. And then the one last piece that I wanted to mention about that idea of the traffic is that sometimes some kids just seem like they have more traffic, and that is a part of how they are. Sometimes it can relate to their early experiences, their attachment patterns, and sometimes doing more of this healing work helps make that easier. And sometimes it's just who they are. And our work is to figure out how we're going to deal with that traffic. And if we're taking this to a traffic analogy, It's sort of like there's always traffic in New York City. There's always traffic in every big city, right? And if you live way out in the country, there's probably not much traffic. And the same is true with kids. Some kids are like a country road, it's mostly smooth sailing, except for the occasional semi truck. And some kids are like New York City, where it's just constant traffic. And if we're going to be driving a lot in New York City, then chances are we're going to need to have a lot of patience. We're going to need to give ourselves a lot of time. We're going to need to be doing a lot of self-care to be able to have the capacity and the support to handle that much traffic. But it can be done. And when we recognize that is there, that there's a lot of traffic there, then we can start thinking about, okay, what do I need to be able to drive in this traffic? What do I need to be able to respond to this intentionally? So that is where I will leave you for today. And I would love to hear in the comments about what the traffic looks like in your house right now, and how you're feeling as a driver in this traffic. And tune in every Wednesday for another Conscious Coffee Break. And at consciouslyparenting.com, you can find our community resources. You can find more information about our founder, Rebecca, and her books, our membership course, and you can find all of the previous Coffee Break episodes there as well in the free membership. All right, so have a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon.